Okay, we are going to be doing a database dive into African American heritage. So my name is Lori Hetrick. I have been in libraries for over 20 years and just recently started working for ProQuest in August of 2022. I received my MLS from the University of Kentucky, and as mentioned, I've been in libraries for a long time. So let's go ahead and get started. So hopefully by the end of today's session, you'll be able to identify the content located in African American heritage, and then also search records and collections in African American heritage. So what is African American heritage? To begin with, it is a groundbreaking digital resource that's exclusively devoted to African American family history research. So African American heritage brings together easy to search primary sources wholly for African American family history research, including census records, freedmen and slave records, marriage and cohabitation records, military records, and more. And I should have mentioned too that I promise this is not going to be entirely PowerPoint. I'll be going through some slides with you, and then we'll jump over and I'll be doing a live demo as well. So there are multiple searchable and browsable collections on African American heritage. Those include first the birth, marriage, and death records. These include cohabitation records for North Carolina and then marriage records for North Carolina and West Virginia. There are federal census records. The 1860 census was the first to recognize and count African Americans as individual citizens. So for that reason, the African American Heritage Database provides searchable records from the years 1860 and forward. And then the Freedmen Bank records. The Freedmen's Bank was created in 1865 by the US government to serve and encourage the African American community in the aftermath of the Civil War and emancipation. So the bank operated until its failure in 1874, and its records provide information about the individuals and communities it served. And then we also have military records, including World War I draft registrations, World War II draft registrations, and then the US Colored Troop Service records, which these were compiled records of volunteer Union soldiers who served with the United States Colored Troops from 1861 to 1865. And then finally, we have these slaves and freed persons of color registers. So prior to 1865, numerous states required that slaves and freed persons of color register with the county or city clerk. And these registers are often helpful in searching African American genealogy before the 1870 census. So the registers cover approximately the years 1780 to 1866. And right now this collection includes Louisiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. So this is the homepage of African American Heritage. You'll see the main navigation menu, which displays throughout the site, no matter what page you're on. You can go to the search page, and we'll take a look at that here in a minute. Search will take you to the main search page where you can search all of the collections at once, or you can choose to search a specific collection. Browse will take you to the global browse page where you can browse specific record collections. And then publications will take you to the area of the site where you can search and browse reference and how-to publications such as books. And then also you can just start with the Get Started area, put as much information as you know, which would search all of the collections. Again, enter as little or as much information as you know. Of course, the more information you can enter, the better. For example, if you know the state a person lived in, if you're looking for a particular person and you know the state they lived in, that will really help to narrow down your results. So the African American Heritage Search, and again, I'll be showing you examples of this in the live instance as well. So this is the search landing page. Again, you have the option to search specific collections. So down below, if you wanted to go directly into the census records, military records, Freedmen's Bank records, those links are there. Or you can go into this main search box and search all of those collections at once, again, by entering as much information in the search boxes and drop-down menus as you can. So just for this example, if you'll see in that last name field there, I just put the last name Smith. So here it breaks down our results by the collections. You'll see, census, draft registrations, marriage, Freedmen's Bank. So I can go into any of those collections. I'm just going to go into census to show you how it kind of continues to break things down. So in the left column, it breaks the census down from the 1860 census to the 1930 census. And then if you'll see on the right, you can also expand that by state. So if we wanted to look at the 1890 census and we want to expand that by state, we can see here that there's Alabama, District of Columbia, Illinois, North Carolina, and Texas. Again, that have somebody with that last name Smith. So if we want to take a look at Texas, then we can actually even further expand by county. And you don't have, I should say, you don't have to expand if you don't want to. If you wanted to go directly into this Texas and see all 18 records, you can. And again, you'll see that in the live demo. But we can expand by county. And here we only see one county listed. So now we can click on those results. We see that we have 18 records returned, and of course, they're going to be listed in alphabetical order. Again, I just did a very generic, I just did Smith. I didn't put a first or last name, but to just give you an idea of what one of these census records looks like. If we wanted to look at Alice Smith, we can pull up her record here, and you'll see that this is the census image. And you'll see the series and roll and the page number. Some of these, I will be honest, some of these are going to be much easier to read than others. And then when we get in the live demo, I'll show you as well. You do have the capability to zoom. You can add it to your notebook, which I'll be showing you in a little bit as well. You can print or download this image. And then again, you can zoom in further to try and view that image a little bit better. So browsing African American heritage. So rather than entering keywords and other information to search, you can browse. You can browse collection images and book content. So here you'll see on the browse main page, you would just, from that drop-down menu, what records are you wanting to browse? Do you want to browse the birth and marriage records, the census records, and so on? So if I wanted to browse the marriage records, you see here that I can browse birth and marriage and death, which will pop up another drop-down menu that asks me, do you want cohabitation or do you want marriage records? So if I select marriage, then it's going to ask me which state. And again, the marriage records we only have for North Carolina and West Virginia. And then from here, since I selected North Carolina, it's going to ask me to narrow it further down to a county. And here is an example of one of those marriage records. Again, we have the same options at the top where we can add that to our notebook. We can print that and we can download it, and we also have the zooming in and out. So African American publications, African American heritage publications, on the publications landing page, you have the option to either search publications or browse publications. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about the searching when we go into the live environment. To get an idea of the publications, here is just a list of some of those that are included in African American heritage. You have, Free African Americans of Maryland and Delaware, You have things like a genealogist's guide to discovering your African American ancestors, researching African American genealogy in Alabama, and so on. So those are just a handful of those titles that are within the publications. So one of the featured publications is Black Genesis, and this special online edition of Black Genesis makes locating resources pertaining to slaves and free Blacks in the United States easier than ever. And the entire book is available online here to help you research your family history. So you'll see just a little summary about the book. Provides an overview of general research, principles, and methodology, while part 2 contains a rundown of specific resources for all 50 states. So again, you can search that specific publication, or we can go and browse the table of contents for that publication. So I just wanted to touch on a few other features of African American heritage before we dive into the live demo. So African American Heritage will save your search history during your session if you want to refer back to it. Once you close out of this session, the search history does get deleted or erased. So this isn't necessarily a database that you go to and you create an account and it saves everything in your account, like Ancestry or something like that. This is just you go to it. If you have access to it through your library, you go to it, you have a session pulled up, it's keeping things through that session, but once you close that browser window, that information is gone. But I'll show you how when you save things to your notebook, you can send that notebook to yourself. So my notebook is also in the top right corner there. Is a storage place for items you find during your current session. You can print, email, and download items from the notebook, and you can store up to 100 or up to 500 items in the notebook. You can open the notebook at any time by clicking the My Notebook link. That's going to be on every page. And throughout ProQuest, throughout African American Heritage, you'll see a checkbox labeled Add to My Notebook. You'll see that on your search results page, on publications or book table of contents page, and on all of the displayed image pages. So contents automatically delete again when your session ends. So make sure to print or download those, and I'm going to show you how you can do that. So let me kind of switch screens here and get to my browser. Give me just one moment. And hopefully you're still seeing that. If you're not, let me know in the chat, but you should be seeing the African American Heritage homepage. Let me just make sure. Okay. So this is the African American homepage, African American Heritage homepage. Again, I have my options, search, browse, publications. I'll show you my search history after I've done some searching, and my notebook once I've shared some things to my notebook. Again, if I just come in here and I just want to get started, that's exactly what this get started area is for. I am just going to do a last name search. Again, you could do exact name. Sometimes if you want to use this Soundex, you can do that as well, because sometimes, you know, when you're looking at old records, things that were copied over, somebody could have misread an A as an E, or, you know, things like that. So for now, I'm just going to leave it as exact. And I'm going to choose a state. And I'm just going to go ahead and choose Indiana. And I don't have a year range. I'm just going to kind of do a big search and go from there. So again, I'm searching all the records, and I can see here that no records or no results returned in the Freedmen's Bank records, the cohabitation records, marriage records, or registers. But I do have quite a few records in the census, as well as the draft registrations. Anytime you have any questions about what these collections are, there is this little I symbol here about this collection. This will pop up a window to a help article. And I'm just going to kind of scroll through this here. This describes all of the records in detail and what they include. So I'm going to go ahead and click on census on the census collection. And again, I have 1860 through 1920 census. I can expand by state, or if I want to go look at all 251 of those records, I can do that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and expand by state. Since I'm already in Indiana, I had already expanded by state, it's going to automatically just bring me to the counties. Because in my search, I chose Indiana. So I'm going to go, let's see, I'm going to choose Marion County, since there's quite a few records in there. And here are my results. So I'm just going to look at, we're going to just look at this first one, but here on this screen in your results, you can see, you know, the first and last name. Here you can get some information like the age, sex, race, and birthplace, and then what state they're in now, or they were in, and county. So let me go into this Albert Miller. Okay, here we go. So the information is, again, that we saw on the previous screen is also listed here at the top. I'm going to show you what this page looks like, but I also want to point out, let me see if I can highlight this a little bit better, that the name I found is on one of two subpages. So if I were to come here and I can't find Albert Miller, just be aware that there could be another page. So just make sure you click on that other page, that subpage B. I am going to go ahead and zoom to 400% to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so now I can see this a little bit better. I believe, and the handwriting on this one is not too bad. I can find Albert Miller here, and I can see he is the head of household. I can also see, oh, let's see, no, that's the other person below him. So he is the only person in his head of household, it looks like. I can scroll over, again, seeing, you know, whether he's male or female, you know, that he's male, his race, his age. I can also see this indicates that he's single. The M would be married. He's in Indiana, but he was from Georgia, it looks like. And I can also scroll over here and see what his occupation was. I can't read that very well, but just some of the occupations, you might see some of these other ones. I think there is, I saw some like cook, there's hairdresser, hammersmith. Thank you. I saw that in the chat. Yes, I was trying to figure that out earlier and I, for the life of me, could not read that. So hammersmith. So you can get some good information here. This is also a good start if I was, say I was researching this person here, this one down below, Albert Miller. I could see the wife's name. So I may want to make note of a wife's name, just anybody that was in the household. This is a good place to check those census records to get those names, further names to search for. So if I want to save this record, you can see add to my notebook. I'm going to click on this little box. And now that is added to my notebook. If I want to take notes on this that I just added to my notebook, I'm just going to put sample notes here. Maybe I want to put a reminder to, you know, look at this again for wife or something like that. You know, I can put whatever notes I want and I can save these notes to that record that I just saved in my notebook. And again, I'll be showing you the notebook here at the end once I've got some things built up in it. So that is, again, we just came in, we did a very general search in the Get Started. If I want to go and search specific collections, I can get there from using the search button or the search collections link here. So if I do that, again, I can select a specific collection that I want to search. So for this, I'm going to select, military records. So this is just going to search our military records. It's going to prompt me, do I want to search draft registrations or service? I'm going to do service. And I'm going to put the last name Smith. And if I know the state, and again, I'm just going to kind of stick with Indiana. There are more search options. If I happen to know somebody's birthplace, if I happen to know the person I'm looking for, their age range, I can put that in here. But just to show you our results, I'm going to click on search. So there's 35 results in Indiana for the last name of Smith for service records. And I'm going to go into this first one here. Again, from this page, I can see some information like their age, birthplace, and location at the time of this record. And then I can see the unit. So this was the 23rd United States Colored Infantry Unit. So I'm going to take a look at this service record for Alfred Smith. You'll see that this one says transcription available below the image. If I click that, it's just going to drop me down to the bottom of the page. It just kind of makes it a little bit clearer, but it's the same information that was on our previous screen when we were looking at the results. So I can look, again, if I want to zoom in on this, I can see Alfred Smith. He was 25 years old. He was 5 feet 10.5 inches. His complexion was black, eyes were black, hair was black. Where he was born, his occupation was farmer, and the enlistment date and the remarks say substitute. And then who enlisted him and how many years. So he was enlisted for 3 years. So very good information here as well. So I am going to add this to my notebook just to have another thing in there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the home page and show you the browse option. So again, you know, what do I want to browse? And I can choose any one of these. I'm going to browse marriage records. And again, it's going to prompt me, do I want cohabitation or do I want marriage? And I'll just go ahead and select marriage. Do I have a particular state? Again, only North Carolina and West Virginia are in this collection. So I'm going to go North Carolina. And I will choose Washington County. Now here, just seeing that this is image 1 of 543, I can go next to look at different pages. So these are the records of marriages in Washington County. This is going to tell me the date of the license, the name of the person getting married, or the names of the people getting married, when they were married, and whom they were married by. So great information in the marriage records as well. And this is a little bit easier to read, but again, I'm not going to promise that all of the marriage records are this easy to read. So there, that is a little bit bigger, where you see the date of the license, when they were married, who the people were, and by whom they were, who officiated. I'm going to go ahead and add this one to my notebook. Again, I could print from here, I could download from here, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that to my notebook as well. Okay, and finally, we're going to go to the publications. Again, if you want to see all of the publications, there's this Browse Publications option here. And you can see all of the titles that are within African American and heritage, all by alphabetical order. We can go in to an individual publication. If I were to click on this particular title, I could go in and look at the table of contents. I could browse by page number, but I could quickly jump into this. Here's the table of contents for that. And then I could, if I wanted to browse page by page, that's up here in this top right corner. So if I wanted to read through this, I could. So that's just a way to kind of browse those. I'm going to go back and we can search publications. Again, you're going to see the show more search options. If we have a particular title that we're looking for, I'm just going to browse for a name, last name, comma, first name. I'm not going to really choose anything else. You can also search by keywords. So I know that this Peter Majira is in here, and I also know that they talk about the Majira family. So if I wanted to do keywords, I could do Majira family, but I just definitely wanted to show you something that would come up. Let's go ahead and click on search. And this shows that that name showed up in these two publications. I can go into this first one here. If I click on the title, as I scroll down, it's going to show me like search term hits, where in this publication my search term showed up. So if if at first you don't see it, scroll down. So you're looking at the entire table of contents. And here is that section on the Majira family. And this tells me Peter Majira was born in Africa about 1746. And this gives his whole life, kind of his life story of who he married, who he had kids with, who his kids may have married, things like that. So not everybody's family history is going to be in here, but there will be some particular families. So that's kind of neat to see. I am going to add that to my notebook too. So I saw somebody, well, I'll get to that question at the end. I'm going to try not to jump ahead of myself. Okay. Let me go to back to the home page here. And I want to show you, since I've been in this session, if I go to my search history up here at the top right, then I can see my searches that I've done. So I can click on any of these and be taken back to that same search. So that very first search I did with Miller, where I got 1,000 results, I can click on that, and there is my search again, Miller, Indiana, and I would just click on search, and it's kind of taking me back to what I did before. If I go to my notebook, I have all of my documents here that I saved while I was searching. If I added any notes in this first record here that I saved, I kind of made some sample notes. I can view my notes here and see that I'd written myself some notes. If I want to add notes to any of my other images or records that I had saved, I could do that. Sample note. And now I can see which ones I have notes for. So I can download all of these. I can print all of these, or I can email them all. Typically, if you're going to be at a library computer, you're probably not going to download unless you're going to download to a flash drive or something like that. So emailing, if you email, you're just going to send this email to yourself, and it's going to come with the subject line. You can change that, and then you would send the email, and you would get all of these records that you had saved in an email. Again, in your notebook, you can save up to 500 records at a time. So don't be afraid as while you're searching this to save anything into that My Notebook, because again, it's got a very large capacity. And then from here, I can empty my notebook. I did want to see the download option. I was going to show you the download image, if it will pop up here for me. The different options that you have here. There we go. So it gives you 3 different options. I could save this as a PDF or as a TIFF image, or I could just open it and view it in Acrobat Reader if I wanted to do that as well. Sometimes I'll open it in Reader because I can zoom in a little bit further. Let's see if it's gonna work for me. And it's not wanting to come up. Nope, there we go. So there we go. So I can kind of zoom a little bit more if I open it in Adobe Acrobat Reader. So you have a couple different options for downloading an image. Okay, I'm going to go back to my notebook. If I want to empty my notebook, I'm all done. I've already emailed all these to myself. I've double checked that that they made it. I can empty my notebook as well, or I can just delete individual items. Okay, so while I'm still in my browser, I want to bring up, it's kind of hidden behind here, sorry. It is, I'm going to bring up my LibGuide. Give me just one moment. We do have LibGuides on all of our products. So for genealogy, let me bring up the ProQuest African American Heritage LibGuide. These are resources. I will be sending this link out. I can also just go ahead and put this in the chat. This is all about African American heritage. So any help files you may need, there are quick user guides here in this section. You know, walking through hands-on exercises if you wanted to practice, if you wanted more information on the military records, publications, all of that is here. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed out that LibGuide. Okay, so let me go back to my home screen. I wanted to see there was one. Okay, I thought there was a question about Freedmen's records, but no, I'm not seeing it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss that. Okay, I am going to actually take you into the Freedmen records, so let me browse that. I had that on my list of things to do. The Freedmen's Bank branch location, you'll see some of these, any state listed. Any state that's listed is the ones that are available, and you'll see we kind of have a range. Not every single city and state is in here, just where these Freedmen Bank records were. So let's go into Lexington, Kentucky. So you will see, this is actually quite easy to read. The registers of signatures of depositors and branches of the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company from 1865 to 1874. And again, I can go and this is image 1 of 177. So just make sure you're looking at this, knowing that you can browse through here. And I'm going to get us to where we can see one of these. Here we go. So you'll see the record, the date, the residence, again, age, complexion, their occupation, This is a little bit harder to read. These are, I don't know if we go on to any of the next images, if they'll be a little bit better. It just depends on who wrote it at the time. This one's a little bit easier to read. If they have brothers and sisters, again, looking at census records, looking at records like this to find additional names and additional family members when you're doing genealogy. Again, good place to look. Here's, father. This person's record has their father, their mother, brothers and sisters. So things like that. This person was 22, which is probably why their father and mother are listed as well. So those are the Freedmen's Banks. But again, all of these are just good places to go. All of these collections are a good place to go to get names and get, whether they have a spouse, whether they have children, whether they served in the military, things like that. So, and the slaves and freed persons of color is because the census didn't start keeping track of that until 1860. So these records down here are going to be before that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my home screen, and I don't, unless there's any questions while I'm in the live environment, I can go back to my screen, back to my PowerPoint. I'm hoping that this has shown you how to identify like what content is located in African American heritage, and then how to search the records and different collections in African American heritage. So now I'm going to, again, I showed you the LibGuide and I put that link in the chat. So definitely visit that for some more resources. And then now I'm going to see if there's any questions, and I think there were some in the chat.
Thank you. Yes, we do have some questions. So we had a couple of questions about access. So this database is one of 23 licensed databases that we have here at the Genealogy Center. So it's one that you can access when you're here in person at the Genealogy Center, either on one of our computers or on your device using our Wi-Fi. But if someone is in another location, how might they see which institutions have this database?
We don't really have anywhere where you can go to a list to see all of our customers that have a particular database. So the best bet would be to contact your local public library and ask them if they have access to it. Yeah, that's that's Sounds the only thing I can say. Yeah.
Thank you. And let's see. So you talked about the Freedmen's Bank records and demonstrated those, and someone's wondering about Freedmen's Bureau records. If there are additional Freedmen's Bureau records in this database, or if there are plans to add those.
So what we have now in African American heritage, the Freedmen's records, that's it. I can ask to see if there's plans. I have not heard of any plans to add to this database at all, but that is something that the product manager would know. So I mean, I could ask, and then I could send a follow-up.
Sounds good. Thank you. And with the marriage records, someone is wondering, do the marriage books, are they only African American marriage records, or are those records also inclusive with a designation for race?
I believe it's all just African American records, but that is a good question. I'm going to, I've never really looked. I just assumed that it was all African American, but let me go and see. While you're asking me another question, I can look that in the database real quick.
Yeah. And then somebody else was wondering, they say that they have, that the majority of their family is from Virginia, Maryland, and South Carolina, and how this database might be most helpful for them.
Well, you're definitely going to be able to look at the census records, and even the So all states are included in the census records. So those are definitely going to be helpful. Now, some of these, like the birth and marriage and death, of course, only have, you know, particular states. The freedmen records, unless there was an institution in those particular states that you're looking for, then those wouldn't be in there. But I still say that this would be very good. And also the publications in here about, there's some publications in here about how to do the best ways to do African-American genealogy, where to start, things like that. So definitely, yeah, I think this would be a good resource. I'm going to scroll through here real quick. Actually, let me go here. I'm trying to remember which thing I want to go to here. There we go. I wanted to pull up this about the complete what is included everywhere. It doesn't say specifically. So we will look at this again. Actually, from here would be easier. This is hard to see, but I believe it is all African-American marriage records. This one is hard for me to look at, but again, I will just double check and make sure.
Sounds good. Thank you. I wanted to mention that if anybody has any questions that pop up after the program today, please feel free to send us an email. It's genealogy@acpl.info. If you'd like to email us there, and if you would like to receive a copy of the chat for today's Zoom webinar, please send us an email as well, and we'll forward that to you. So thank you again, Lori. We really appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for attending.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Have a good day.